Closed. Nope. Moved. It's like trying to...
Thursday, August 28th, for the Black Revolutionary Hotline. Call on in. Cover this 3-eye atlas. Is it flying space debris, alien UFO, or something else? Either way, it's on a destination Earth course. Say collision course, I say, hey, maybe that's just the coordinates that they put in the GPS. And thanks for everybody coming out. Thanks, Brother Joe, coming out. Thanks for all the people coming out. So much happening, unfolding right before our eyes, almost surreal.
We gotta get an encore on this joint. Hold up. A little bit too close to the end.
Again, it is.
I said it before.
The Black Revolutionary Hotline, Thursday.
Take it from the top.
August
like James
28th.
Brown say, on the one.
Welcome, B40. Thanks for everybody coming out. Revolutionary Hotline. So much stuff is happening. Hard to keep up. I think Trump is going to be the last year. Last marshal. First martial law, damn near. All the available resources called in. Now he's calling for capital punishment. He said if it happens in the Capitol, it should be capital punishment. Any killing that happened in D.C., he gonna push for it to be pushed to federal court to capital punishment. Exposed. Outside. Hey, brother. Just mellowing it on up. Let a few people get on in here. Well, brother, here we either got extraterrestrial visitors coming, or this it might be some kind of. They don't want to look at it like it's a comet because it don't have a comet trail, but that's the only reason. There's a little piece of that because we didn't cover it last time.
As it heats up, the gases and volatiles in its nucleus are released, creating the coma. Water vapor has already been detected in the coma, confirming that it has the same sublimating behavior that's typical of these from our solar system. However, the composition of it could differ from that of the solar system. The presence of carbon-based molecules and complex organic compounds is another area of interest. These findings could offer clues about the chemical makeup of other star systems, as interstellar thieves may contain substances that aren't commonly found in our solar system. As it gets closer to the sun, it will become even more active, and astronomers will continue to monitor its outgassing. This will help them refine their understanding of its composition and compare it to the comets we're familiar with in our solar system. By studying it, scientists hope to gain insight into the building blocks of planets and other celestial bodies in distant star systems, helping to piece together the puzzle of how other solar systems form. On October 29th, 2025, it will reach perihelion, the point in its orbit closest to the Sun at a distance of 1.36 AU, or about 167 million miles. That places it roughly between the orbits of Earth and Mars. Although it won't pass any closer to Earth than 1.8 AU, 167 million miles, the comet will still be closely monitored by astronomers as it continues its approach to the Sun. Observing its activity during this time will provide crucial information about its composition and behavior. As it gets closer, the outgassing will intensify, and scientists will be able to study the release of volatile materials from the nucleus. This is an ideal time to gather spectroscopic data, which could reveal more about its chemical composition. After perihelion, it will continue its journey out of the solar system, disappearing from Earth's view. However, it will still be visible from Mars for a short time before it exits the solar system completely. As it moves away from the sun, it will become invisible to us, but will reappear in the sky in December 2025 as it moves farther from the sun. The high velocity makes it unlikely that we'll see another comet like this anytime soon. Although we've only observed 3 interstellar objects so far, estimates suggest that there could be as many as 10,000 interstellar objects passing through the solar system at any time. Many are too small or too distant to detect with current technology, but future observatories, such as the Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile, are expected to find more interstellar.
Well, so what do y'all think? You think it's a UFO heading this way, or just a space rock? Hmm. What about you, brother Joe? What about you, brother B40? Some people think it's the black aliens.
Big fours,
Anunnaki.
brother.
Say
No
big
doubt.
four.
Well, you already know my brother, Black Power, Black
This afternoon,
Powers.
one of the 10 escaped inmates.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. I was going to say, well, their calculation on what life is and what life isn't, isn't absolute. So, their concept of, intelligent life, operating similar to capacity that humans or nature on Earth operates, it may not be, but in terms of a form of life, it could very well be. I also look at it as our people specifically, historically have been into astronomy and astrology, things of that nature. And I like to use the movie Doom as a modernized example of many of the things that I would say our people view as either some type of spiritual signal or some type of spiritual reference. And a lot of the times, it may be
Hey, brother Joe, back
focused.
on stage.
Big fours, brother Joe. Big fours, brother Joe. But yeah, just to use that for example, there are cases where, let's just say, people operate based on one form of thinking, not recognizing that what they're actually doing is a part of something beyond themselves.
Hey, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Very
You
good.
feel
Very
me?
good.
So I look at it from that perspective. Like, this could be taken as some type of divine symbolism by
Mm,
some people, perhaps. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that it
yep,
is like, the kind, like a quote unquote God as people view oriented occurrence, but the impact or the effect that it's supposed to have on people is just the same.
yep, yep.
Yep.
That's what I was looking at. The people
Hmm.
want God to come back in our form so bad. He want even saying
Saying
the
the
spaceship
spaceship
has
has
got to
got to
be
be
the Anunnaki and they got to be black and well,
well, they
they could be something
something
totally
totally
out
out
of
of
this
this world.
world. They
They
could
could
be
be
black,
black,
all
all
right.
right.
That's right. That's right.
but not black like we
They
want.
could.
Hmm.
Exactly. That's all I'm
Or they
saying. You feel me, bro?
might be ancestors for all we know, but everybody with these presumptions
Hmm.
and stuff, they about to find out one way or the other.
One way or the other, brother.
They say the Greys and the what was that? The Greys and the reptilians
Oh
and man, the
yeah.
blondes and the black. Mhm.
Hey, real quick, what was that movie back in the day, man? With it had the wrestler in it, Rowdy Piper, I believe, and they had like the
Oh yeah,
glasses.
you Roddy Piper.
Yeah, and they had the glasses, and it was showing them what was really happening behind the scenes, as
Oh
opposed to
wow.
the imagery that was being presented to the people. Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah,
Hmm.
taking the rose-colored glasses off. No, as a
Yep.
matter of fact,
Yep.
here what Trump said. Here you go. He said it his own self. Well, you kill somebody in D.C., then capital city, you get capital punishment.
Operations in Greenland with the intention of weakening relations between Denmark and
Madness,
Greenland.
brother.
The report
Madness.
said it was not able to clarify if the
Yep,
I
Americans were
check it
guarantee
out.
you,
using
if a
their
sister or
own
brother
or
gets
under
killed
orders from
by
somebody
one of
else.
the in place law enforcement, though, it ain't gonna be given that same type of energy or
Kill
perspective.
somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And it's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but we have it. It is, we have no choice.
Oh, it didn't happen in one night. These arrests, all 12 of them, and the seizure of all these weapons indicate the seriousness of crime that is occurring in our community.
Now, over 2,300 National Guardsmen and federal agents have been scouring the city for most of the month, despite Congress being on recess. Trump says Republican House and Senate leaders are working on a new legislation to fight crime. Posting last night, Speaker Mike Johnson and Leader John Thune are working with me and other Republicans on a comprehensive crime bill. It's what our country needs, and now more to follow. Make America great again. Now, Congress, like many schools, guys, are back in session after Labor Day.
Somebody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And it's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but we have it. It is, we have no choice. Is known all
Speaking of
throughout the
which,
world as occupied America. They call it occupied. We're being occupied by a criminal force. And we're an occupied state that refuses to let our great law enforcement professionals do the job that they so dearly want to do. You know, they want to do the job so badly, but they're threatened constantly. You're going to lose your pension. They don't want to do it. What is this ideology? It's so sick. But to everyone here in Colorado and all across our nation, I make this pledge and vow to you. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It will be Liberation Day. I will rescue Aurora and every town that has been invaded and conquered. These towns have been conquered. Explain that to your governor. He doesn't have a clue.
Trump's description of
Invasion of illegals into our country. We will defend our territory. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. We will reclaim our sovereignty, and Colorado will vote for Trump as a protest and signal to the world that we are not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. And if they come back into our country, they will be told it is an automatic 10-year sentence in jail with no possibility of parole.
The most striking part of Trump's Aurora speech was his call for the death penalty in cases involving undocumented immigrants who commit violent crimes, specifically murder. Take a listen.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
Mad that he said the death penalty for any illegal immigrant.
Operations in Greenland.
Is mad. Go ahead. What you saying?
Whether that person is illegal or fucking not, it's still a reasonable.
So what y'all think about that death penalty in D.C.? Sorry about that. Hold on. I had two devices going. Sorry about that. But yeah, death penalty in D.C. If you kill somebody in D.C., you get the death penalty. And what's going on with these ice cream trucks going around at 2 o'clock in the morning and stuff. I seen a clip of look like somebody trying to escape from one of them ice cream trucks. Y'all seen that?
No, I haven't yet, brother.
Okay. Yeah, it shows somebody trying to escape from one of them. So we're then going around at 2 o'clock in the morning, a lot of missing children missing. And that's Virginia, I believe. But yeah, let's see what they got to say.
The unsettling mystery. Dozens of unusual videos have surfaced on social media platforms, each one capturing scenes of ice cream trucks moving through neighborhoods late at night. These recordings, often shared by residents in Facebook groups, have sparked widespread concern, with the majority of sightings occurring between 10 o'clock in the evening and 4 o'clock in the morning. What alarms many is not only the timing of these appearances, but also the strange detail that some of the trucks can be heard playing the familiar melodies traditionally associated with ice cream vendors. The mystery deepened further when, between the 3rd of August and the 9th of August, more than 100 young people were reported as missing throughout Virginia. The sudden surge in disappearances coinciding with the peculiar activity of these ice cream trucks has prompted speculation that the two events may be connected. For communities already unnerved by the late-night presence of these vehicles, the overlap has only added to a growing sense of unease. Residents across several towns have shared their experiences in community groups online, often expressing shock and fear. Many note that such events have no precedent, explaining that prior to this summer, there had never been any history of ice cream trucks moving through neighborhoods after dark. Some individuals have reported seeing these vehicles pass by more than once in a single night, almost as if they were circling the area with a deliberate purpose. To many, this behavior has suggested that the drivers may be searching for something, adding another layer of strangeness to the unfolding mystery. One account in particular has captured widespread attention. A woman from Virginia posted online about her encounter with one of these trucks. She explained that she first noticed it pulling into a quiet residential street late at night. She decided to follow it at a distance. The vehicle eventually stopped, which heightened her sense of fear. She described feeling that the situation was not right and chose to drive away, only to realize that the truck had started following her. This pursuit continued until she pulled into the parking lot of a store, hoping to find safety and alert others nearby. According to her statement, the driver of the ice cream truck suddenly jumped out and began running toward her car. She described the man claiming that he was conducting an experiment, and that this experiment involved making people disappear. The woman's fear escalated when a second vehicle, a white van, began following her closely as she tried to escape. She managed to get away, but the experience left her deeply shaken and convinced that there was something deliberate and disturbing about the activity surrounding these trucks. Her story is not the only testimony fueling alarm. Others have shared sightings of multiple ice cream trucks traveling through neighborhoods on the same night, sometimes within only minutes of one another. These overlapping reports have created the impression that something organized is taking place, rather than isolated incidents of late-night drivers. The eerie element of the music being played by some of the trucks only intensifies the unease, as the cheerful tunes, usually a sign of joy, take on a sinister tone when heard in the dead of night on otherwise silent streets. The missing persons cases reported between the 3rd and the 9th of August remain one of the most troubling aspects of the situation. Families across Virginia have come forward to share their heartbreak and confusion, describing young people who vanished without clear explanation. For many observers, the timing of these disappearances alongside the rise of mysterious ice cream truck sightings is too coincidental to ignore. While no official link has been declared, the public conversation has become increasingly focused on the possibility of a connection. As days turned into weeks, more and more residents began recording videos whenever they spotted the trucks. These clips, now widely shared across social platforms, form a collective archive of evidence that suggests the phenomenon is widespread. The sheer number of sightings indicates that this is not a rare occurrence, but an ongoing and deliberate pattern. Concern has grown so significant that entire community pages are now dedicated to tracking and discussing the movements of these late-night vehicles. The social impact of the situation has been profound. Parents have become increasingly wary. Neighborhood watch groups have formed in several towns, organizing patrols and encouraging residents to report sightings immediately. The atmosphere in many communities is one of vigilance and suspicion, where the sound of faint music at night is enough to cause alarm. The psychological toll has also been notable. The image of the ice cream truck has long been tied to innocence, summer afternoons, and simple joys. To see that same image transformed into a source of fear represents a profound shift in collective perception. What was once a
Watch
harmless
over their
picture of
kids
community
out
life
there because
has now
they're
become a symbol of something
disappearing.
hidden, possibly threatening, and certainly unexplained. The testimony of the woman, followed by both the truck and the van, illustrates the level of intimidation people now feel. Her experience highlights the possibility that the phenomenon involves more than just one driver or one vehicle, but rather a coordinated group with unclear intentions. Her encounter shows that the fear is not only theoretical, but based on direct confrontations that leave lasting emotional scars. As the weeks since early August have unfolded, the debate continues to intensify. For some, the idea of connecting the disappearances to the ice cream trucks feels speculative, yet for others, the overlap is too significant to dismiss. Each new video, each fresh testimony, and each unexplained absence adds weight to the growing belief that Virginia is facing a mystery with serious implications. The mystery of the ice cream trucks represents more than a curious series of late-night drives. It has come to symbolize a deeper sense of vulnerability within communities, a reminder that even familiar and once beloved aspects of life can transform into sources of dread under certain circumstances. The residents of Virginia continue to watch, record, and share, determined to shed light on a phenomenon that shows no sign of ending. The unanswered questions remain heavy, but the lived experiences of those who have seen the trucks, heard the music, or been followed through darkened streets make it clear that this is not simply an internet rumor. It is a lived reality for many, and until clarity emerges, the mystery will persist. The period between the 3rd and the 9th of August will be remembered as the week when Virginia's sense of safety shifted dramatically, as families confronted both unexplained disappearances and the haunting presence of ice cream trucks that no longer signify joy, but instead evoke unease, suspicion, and fear. Thousands want to storm the Vatican. In addition to handwritten papal memos and presidential letters, the 80 kilometers of archives and shelves found at the Vatican are thought to hold a wealth of pertinent material regarding the UFO phenomenon, and it's because of this that thousands have said that they want to storm the Vatican in order to find out the truth. In 2023, the long-running endeavor acquired momentum after former United States intelligence agent David Grush testified before Congress. According to Grush, Benito Mussolini's dictatorship obtained information of a crashed UFO through back-channeling from Pope Pius to the United States. Nonetheless, UFO researchers may find more in the archives than first appears, based on findings similar to those detailed in Diana Walsh Pasulka's 2019 book, American Cosmic. according to Pasulka, a religious studies professor at the University of North Carolina.
So what y'all think? It's an experiment, make people disappear, as they say. That's enough for me right there. An experiment to make people disappear. I guess that'd be where all the homeless folks would be going. They start disappearing. Yeah, but I think they like genocide on our kids and stuff like that. Get the youth and the organs most likely. So definitely gotta watch over your tribe out there. Any comments on that, y'all? Brother Joe, brother Lee.
Yeah, most definitely, brother. Um, Obviously, my love goes out to the sisters and brothers that's being affected by it directly already. Um, I know, when we think of, the US government, they got like this military identity of, invincibility and, just impermeability and impenetrability and all of these other abilities that they supposedly have. But I mean, at this point, man, I mean, either we fight or we see what the results is going to be. With them
Yeah, I
further
think
militarizing these
yeah.
territories and these different
That's
locations,
my arm earlier.
they can move in. They can move in and do so much under the guise of government instruction. And ultimately, if the government is enabling it, allowing it, or actually doing it, the people ain't gonna save us so much. Out of fear of what type of response or how the government may potentially react. But we already see how they're acting.
Yeah. Hey, brother Eugene, how you doing? Talking about these ice cream trucks that's spooking the neighborhoods around 10, 11, 12 midnight, 2 a.m.,
Peculiar activity of these ice cream trucks
along with
has
people
prompted
disappearing.
speculation that the two events may be connected. For communities already unnerved by the late night presence of these vehicles, the overlap has only added to a growing sense of unease. Residents across several towns have shared their experiences in community groups online, often expressing shock and fear. Many note that such events have no precedent, explaining that prior to this summer, there had never been any history of ice cream trucks moving through neighborhoods after dark. Some individuals have reported seeing these vehicles pass by more than once in a single night, almost as if they were circling the area with a deliberate purpose. To many, this behavior has suggested that the drivers may be searching for something, adding another layer of strangeness to the unfolding mystery. One account in particular has captured widespread attention. A woman from Virginia posted online about her encounter with one of these trucks. She explained that she first noticed it pulling into a quiet residential street late at night. She decided to follow it at a distance. The vehicle eventually stopped, which heightened her sense of fear. She described feeling that the situation was not right and chose to drive away, only to realize that the truck had started following her. This pursuit continued until she pulled into the parking lot of the store, hoping to find safety and alert others nearby. According to her statement, the driver of the ice cream truck suddenly jumped out and began running toward her car. She described the man claiming that he was conducting an experiment, and that this experiment involved making people disappear. The woman's fear escalated when a second vehicle, a white van, began following her closely as she tried to escape. She managed to get away, but the experience left her deeply shaken and convinced that there was something deliberate and disturbing about the activities surrounding these trucks. Her story.
But they told her right there, experiment to make people disappear. Yeah, but I think it's to make black kids disappear. Not them. They just happen to come up on it. Welcome, brother Eugene. How you doing? Welcome to the Black Revolutionary Hotline.
Yeah, that's what's up. Thank you, Black Power, Black Lightning.
This is Brother
Black
Eugene.
Power, brother.
Always a
Sound
pleasure,
like
man.
these kids
Reporting to
disappearing
you all
in
out of
Virginia.
Charlotte, North Carolina, right here, trying to hold the fort down, brother. Black Power.
Black Powerful. Yeah, we're trying to hold it down. And like I say, these ice cream trucks roaming Virginia and kids steadily disappearing in Virginia. So, kind of put two
Oh,
and two
man.
together on that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
know
man.
whether or
I'm
not
sorry that's
the
happening to
government
you
is
guys,
experimenting or not.
but that's been going on for quite a minute, man, with these children becoming missing all across the country here, you know.
Yeah, especially now, with all these government agencies loose like that, you think that that might be some kind of something that they might know about, or they could get to the bottom of it real quick.
Either know about it or are part of it.
Yeah, just like Trump said before. He said about the drones. He said the government know what it is, and they don't want to tell you. That's when Biden was in charge, though. Yeah. So what's
Right,
he
right.
hiding? They all hiding something. So
So how you
yeah.
guys doing up there in the DMV?
Oh, everything's great. Yeah. Except for the takeover, DC takeover.
Yeah, I've been seeing that on the news, man. Certainly, I know the city, once known as Chocolate City, has been taken over by the federal government, and the people, some of them have been taking the streets. Many of them been getting the beat down to go along with that.
Right.
But they just recently showed on some of the newscasts how many guns and people they've taken off the street. I believe is more than 300 people now. They've apprehended and taken off the street. So quite a bit of people since they got started with all that nonsense.
Oh yeah. I got some stats. Let's see.
President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable again. These savings at the pump are giving everyday American families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite.
Hold on, not her. She's too long-winded. I mean, I saw something with. Oh, here we go. They were giving some kind of stats. Sorry about that commercial.
Simpson, senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation and former U.S. attorney for violent crime, joins us now. I imagine that in a way you're, one, glad and relieved, but also kind of frustrated because you knew there was a problem and it was difficult to try to get these things done. This is now the results. We have 1,007 arrests, 101 guns seized, 6 known gang members have been arrested, 2 missing children have been recovered. That's incredible. And 49 homeless encampments cleansed. And Coley, your thoughts as DC residents start to grapple with the realization that crime is not something that they had to live with.
Said the
Right.
homeless
And that's why I've been raising alarm bells for years about this, Dana. When I saw it firsthand when I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office. Look, DC residents, especially in the tough parts of town, deserve public safety, but they haven't been getting it at all. There's a culture of lawlessness in this town. The Washington Post and others have been anesthetized to violence. They just assume it's going to happen. So thank God Trump and Pirro are in there fighting, and they're on very solid legal ground deploying the National Guard in D.C. In other cities, that could be tougher.
And Coley, we hear from certain politicians that they're against this crackdown. They say it's all a political stunt. But when you get on the ground and you talk to the real people living out there, they're giving it a big thumbs up. Take a listen.
Well, I'm glad they're cracking down on crime. That's all I can say.
I feel a lot safer, so I'm actually really happy.
I feel like the nation's finally becoming safe again with this, so it's nice that
look who they asking.
protecting us.
I think extra security is always a good thing, especially in the metro. I mean, if you got crime, you need police. You need their
They ain't have no black folks.
And Coley, those right there are the opinions that matter.
Huh?
Bill, you know from your outstanding reporting.
He ain't asked no black folks, and he said those are the opinions that matter. He ain't that a blip. I guess our opinions
That's
don't matter, but our opinions do matter. That's
in a
why we on here. Yeah.
predominantly black city. You know what I'm saying? You going you and even if you did pull a quote unquote black face out of there, to be honest with you, I mean, you know, many of our sisters and brothers have drunk the Kool-Aid. They just accepted things for what they believe to be how they're supposed to be. And they've just, relinquished whatever self-power or potential of power they have themselves. So I wouldn't have been surprised if they did have a brother or a sister get up there and, oh yeah, I love to see it. You know what I'm saying? Remember, we had plenty of sisters and brothers or ancestors that were enslaved that did not want to leave the plantation and who saw master as a good man. He gives us sleeps. You know what I'm saying? He gives us eats. That type of mentality. So I wouldn't have been surprised either way. But for us as a group, like we supposed to be able to see beyond that at this point. Like historically, what base of trust do we have to operate when dealing with them on any level? Especially when we see them operating openly in many things. I can get sisters and brothers being duped when they don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, but for this to be so open and blatant directly at us, you know what I'm saying?
And
I
they're
don't I
going
don't
to,
see how it'd be so hard. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
yep. And going to what are they going? Chicago next. Yeah, if they haven't already hit the ground in Chicago.
That's right. They
For,
got Chicago and Baltimore lined up to be the next places.
huh?
Chicago and Baltimore are supposed to be next in line, and followed by Texas and some other places.
And New York. He ain't gonna leave New York out. That's the spot.
Well, one thing for sure, part of the Black Power movement right now definitely must be consciously aware that there is a fascism movement taking place. And we all started seeing that when the Israelis started warring on the Gaza Strip. Pretty much a modern day colonization project that is taking place right in front of our eyes, where those folks are getting their land and resources confiscated by an oppressive regime. That's the same thing kind of took place in the time of Hitler when the fascism rose up in Europe and Germany, and during World War II. Same type of tactics took place prior and before. So I guess we as a new conscious African living in a nation of Babylon, we must also be aware that a lot of that stuff that took place during that time period could easily take place in this time period as well. And we see that carrying out right now in the Gaza Strip. So that could easily come here to a Babylon America as well. But we're going to have to unite together as a united people. Too many of our people, we vary in thought and also have difference of opinions that are too widely diverse and really don't have a code of ethic or honor in this day and time period. In order for us to protect ourselves, we're certainly going to have to look at, regardless of what our petty differences consist of, as 42 million Africans living here in the United States must have a code of ethic to be able to protect ourselves in some civil manner. So it all depends on what our generation going to do, because the baby boomers is done. They done talked and they marched. They did what they had to do. I know we got a lot of complaints about what's happening, and especially in our time where we're going to jockey for reparations, must have a game plan of these reparations or revolution, and which one do they want to get down to, and then certainly starting to draw the line in the sand to determining being more self-determined. That's what our ancestors initially wanted to do for themselves, but unfortunately, after the civil rights movement and the Jim Crow era, they kind of put our politics in a mode where they took it over, and we kind of have a small amount of say so as long as we can get a pacifier. But we know that it takes more than a pacifier right now, and especially if we're going leaning more towards getting reconciliation from a nation that have oppressed a group of people for many centuries now, has certainly been a challenge. and not even going back to a bunch of centuries, coming all the way up to today's date and time, but we still see many of the atrocities being carried out and formulated on our people. And this is built by design. Of course, you know, we're a new breed leader African generation, so moving in that direction where it's certainly going to be challenging for us because each generation come here to struggle. We know different than any other generation that has come to Earth and has survived all these years. But it's certainly a time to draw the line in the sand and to figure out where we as a group of collective people, which is the Black People Foundation, Black Americans who have built this country, to place more and higher and more stricter demands on the leaders that we so-called supposed to be in office to represent us. Well, you know, we talk about the Congressional Black Caucus and what have they done for the Black community, and in more than what I believe is 60 years now, 30 or 40 years since they've been in existence now, and really have not seen any of these Black elected officials go to the post or podium to really make some demands out of this nation, in which we really need those Black tax dollars that we spend coming out of our pocket. We are $3.1 trillion GDP population here in the United States, and that doesn't even count the Black tax dollar ratio, which is probably another 1.3 trillion. I mean, we're forking out a lot, but not getting back. And most of our tax dollars that they are getting is utilized to oppress us with. We get a check and give it right back. And they take that same check and oppress us with it through the occupation of our cities, like we're seeing right now what's happening in Washington, D.C. and all over this nation, with the immigrants being the first target. And of course, you know, by any means necessary, we should be moving towards more of a self-determination. I yield the floor at that. Black power.
Black power. And I was reading it, Joe said, since the arrival of the National Guard on August 12th, DC experienced at least an 11-day homicide-free streak. You know, they had one. Though the claim it was the longest period in many years was disputed, as there are similar periods earlier in 2025. Yeah, well, ain't nobody gonna be out there doing homicides with the beds and with all them characters out there on there. And even got the National Guard gave them weapons too. It's a good thing. Guard. And say when you source oh yeah, we got a source from Black and white, because they down at Union Station and they get their sources from like tourists. And say same. Okay. Perpetual victim. Yep, we can't be perpetual victims. That's what I'm sure. I'll play the rest of this too.
LA, when Gascon was the rogue prosecutor, that folks in South Central, folks in Watts, they deserve their public safety, just like people across the river in Anacostia and the tough parts of town in DC. They're the ones negatively most impacted by violent crime. They know who the criminals are in their areas. They know who the criminals are on their city block. And yet people have turned a blind eye to that and assume that it's okay. So you have white elite liberals on the city council and white elite liberals in Northwest and the rich parts of town acting like this is an over abuse of power. They've never even been to Anacostia. They've never even been to South Central. They don't know what the hell's going on down there.
And that might also be said for, the Chicago governor. I'm sorry, the Illinois governor who was in Chicago yesterday saying, look, everything's fine, while he was with his security detail. I do have a question, though, because I know when Judge Pirro took over as the U.S. attorney there, one of the issues is that it's a little bit understaffed. Maybe that's an understatement. And so you have all of these arrests. Can the prosecutions keep pace?
No. But she'll do her best. They're down about 90 prosecutors. This is an office of 330 prosecutors, or should be. It's down 90 prosecutors. they have hardly any DA investigators in their office. Most DA investigator offices should have a 2 prosecutor to 1 investigator. They have 100 to 1 ratio here. And then you have the DC Superior Court where 90% of the crimes are tried, and you have a bunch of liberal judges who let people out all the time. So there is a systemic rot in DC. This is a good start. I applaud the president. I applaud Piero. I applaud the National Guards men and women who are doing their job. But you have a wholesale revision of the system that needs to happen.
And Coley, we don't have time to play this down, but real quick, I'm not sure if you saw yesterday, a speaker at the DNC got on stage and said that Democrats should worry about bigger things than carjackings and migrant crime, which she said Americans really don't care about. 20 seconds left. Your final thoughts on making a comment like that they would platform someone who says that.
Exactly what you would expect from a Soros stooge at the Vera Justice Institute. Pathetic.
Well, hey, you know what, Coley? You can do that in 10 seconds or less.
Yeah.
Just like name that tune. Thank you so much. Great to have you.
I'm Steve Ducey. I'm Bright.
11-day streak of no killings in D.C. and Trump andied up. He pulled the Trump card out and said any killings that happen in D.C. will be met with capital punishment. So there you go. They got the
That man, it represents among our highest form of opposition on this landmass. I don't know. I know we don't react to it this way, but all of these are declarations of war, man. One nation to another. We've assimilated into this Americanism concept. So for us as a group, it's hard for us to be able to separate. And for many of the sisters and brothers who recognize that that is a necessary move, they hold on to tradition. You know, historically, you know, our ancestors fought and died for this country. Our ancestors were operating based on the knowledge and the awareness that they had at that time. They were doing what they felt was in our best interest based on whatever knowledge they had attained up until that point. We have access to far more knowledge. Furthermore, we have their example to draw from, whereas they didn't have their own example to draw from. So we see what this demanding or slow gradual reform is doing to us as a group. We need radical change because there's not one thing that we can address. If we are fortunate enough to get reparations, in which again this is demanding, so what becomes the alternative if the demand does not succeed? Do we demand a little harder? You know what I'm saying? But if we are successful at obtaining reparations, that doesn't eliminate instances like this from happening.
right.
It doesn't.
And
It doesn't.
there's the stats right there on the screen. Assaults are down 19%, burglaries 48%, homicide 57%. But what was going to happen when the 30 days is over and everybody goes back home? It's back to normal.
Right. Address. I mean, even for the sisters and brothers who don't see it for as a declaration or an act of war, if they see this as a real fix, you know, an attempt to really correct intercommunal issue, like you just said a moment ago, what happens after 30 days or whenever this television show has concluded and things go back to normal?
Right.
Like addressing the symptom instead of the actual root sickness. They know that economic disparity or poverty is the driving force beyond much of the criminology, you know, the things they deem as criminology regarding our people. They know that already. You know what I'm saying? But of course, it works to their interest to create a narrative so that they can generate the continual global support and then also confuse us within our own ranks. But that's why I mean about us as a group developing a more proactive approach to everything. To the brother's point earlier about exercising our right of self-determination, in which that could be done a multitude of different ways. But that has to become our political aspiration as a group. That has to become our agenda or our long-term goal, no matter what strategic steps we set up between them. But in the meantime, we have to build a capacity to defend ourselves the best we can, outside of just the personal level. I can defend me and my personal people here, and a couple of the
Yeah.
M's can pull up, and we can secure a few neighborhoods, perhaps. But
Yeah.
what about outside of that? You get what I'm saying?
Right. Right. As a whole, as a people, as the unit.
Right.
Well,
Well,
you know, like
all
Malcolm
the
said,
people interlinked.
like Brother Malcolm said, you know, it's going to get down to the ballot of the bullet. And for us, you know, as a free and liberated and free thinking people moving towards a more solidified movement between ourselves here in the United States, it's going to be very pertinent to our survival and how we're going to move into the future. It's, you know, when we do that, I'm also the Minister of Economics of the Provisional Government of the New African Republic. This was an organization that was established by Malcolm X and Assata Shakur, many of our African liberation freedom fighters from the 60s and the 70s. They put together a constitution that will allow us to, if we want to succeed from the United States government, that give us the auspice to do so, but also gives us an opportunity to occupy 5 territories which were set up in the southern region of the United States that will allow us to begin to assert our self-determination under the laws and government that we choose, and uniting ourselves as a liberated people, being more self-determined. And that means in you know, a group that's very similar to the South African freedom fighters of the day of today, which is the EFF, oversaw by the Honorable Julius Malema. But yeah, certainly I know we're going to have to really think some things out, brothers, and begin to get our community educated about what's needed for ourselves. I know our ancestors, they've come here and they've struggled and they've had to decide what was best for them at their time, for their time period. And this is a day and time period in which we're living in. We're going to have to do the same, and it's going to be some very strategic thinking that needs to be necessary with some folks who understand the dynamics of both politics and economics, but also willing to put their lives on the line, just in case it does get down to a point where we have to revolutionize. So, you know, it's just some very
Yep.
strong thoughts to be thinking about. Very complicated. Very complicated.
Right here, they got concentrated all down here by the White House and stuff. FBI, uh, DEA, and National Guard. Like DEA, National Guard everywhere. And where the multi-agencies, they probably in the southeast. Well, actually, you cross the bridge and you don't see nobody. Yep, nobody in our neighborhoods, of course.
Yeah, that's predominantly white territory over there in that area. That's
Yeah.
on the other side of both Maryland and Virginia meet right there. Those are very rich neighborhoods in those areas. Also, Fairfax County and Loudoun County, right there where they meet. You're not going to have a whole lot of criminal activity going on, not with the type of money being spent for them houses over there. But a lot of it is too, you know, Washington, D.C. is becoming more gentrified. You got a
Yep.
lot more white people there within the last 20 years than it has ever been. And that's because much of that younger generation, whereas the older generation took flight during the 1960s, they didn't want to be around Black people who were occupying large parts of the city. And I say this because I also grew up in Washington, D.C., and most of the housing that was purchased during the 1950s all the way up through the, I would say, close to the 80s, was by majority of well-to-do Black people, and many of them were veterans that were coming out of World War II and also Vietnam, Korean War, and then in my generation it was the Afghanistan and Iraq War. These GIs were able to come home and purchase homes, but now what's happening with the gentrification process, a lot of those homes are being purchased at assessed value a lot of times, especially the older generation who, really don't even know how to go look up what their assessment property value is. And then some of them fall under what's called the Homestead Act. They were able to shelter themselves in with the safeguarding of their properties. But a lot of our older generation now, those baby boomers, are being targeted because they're willing to sell out just because a lot of them don't have heirs to take over their properties, or a lot of times they just don't have people in place to be responsible for their financial affairs as they get older. So, a lot of those places in Washington, D.C., crime was pretty high, and it's been high since the time I've been there growing up in the 80s.
Yep.
I can really tell you
Ain't too
about
much time.
some criminal stuff. That's very minute to what we had to experience in my time period. But yeah, some of it does need to be taken care of. Those areas have gotten to become very dilapidated and run
Yeah.
down, while many parts of the city was being gentrified and fixed up. I yield the mic.
Yeah, they just let the predominantly black neighborhoods just go. Don't try to fix it up at all. But the other areas being gentrified, so they fixing them up because they know people moving in, moving out.
For sure.
Moving out, moving them in.
And you see that take place in a lot of the black people neighborhoods. They tend to have all these funding institutions in place to fix neighborhoods up, but a lot of those loans never did reach the black community where they were predominantly black people living at. You can ride through the city and you can always identify the black community as opposed to as a community that has been predominantly white or have been gentrified over the time period. But many of the loans and grants and things that black people need to build their communities up, they still fail to do that, and that's called redlining. And redlining stuff is still prevalent in our black communities, and definitely need to be addressed, especially with our black politicians and leaders.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I say this real swift. I'm not opposed to utilizing political seating and reform to acquire resources, access, for the purpose of positioning, etc. But constitutional law down, it's not a place in politics nor in economics that there isn't a disparity. Has been a disparity and will forever be a disparity. Even for the sisters and brothers who are fortunate enough to even purchase land, purchase property on that type of scale, in the year 3025, they will still be paying taxes on it. In the year 4025, they will still be paying taxes on it. So either way we slice it, there's no real long-term win within this structure for our people. So I look at it to the brother's points earlier. If it is a case where there's a city that is predominantly black or a town that is predominantly black, I don't care if they go door to door, do online polls, do community meetings, block captain delegations. DC technically could perform a referendum. Now, obviously, before it even gets to a point where it's actually solidified in terms of whatever they're looking to do, and they have a military capacity constructed to kind of back it, obviously, it's going to be enough attention and enough response from that to be able to generate the potential for reparations. Because then the people then have leverage if by chance the situation with the reparations does not go through, the people have an opportunity to position themselves for some type of monetary reparation. Because if they go through a full referendum and they declare independence, At that point, all the property, all the assets, hell, the geographical value, all of these things could be leveraged for the benefit of the people. Now, a referendum is one route. A political entity, which is a group of people, we know what that is, but just a group of people who represent the political interest of the people, can technically galvanize and sensationalize enough to get enough public support to be able to do it. And I know that's a far extreme, but we know there's no one individual aspect that we can address that's going to fix all these issues. It's just too many. It's too many constructs, too many different disparities. The economic gap is too wide and far in between. I know we chilling and we have the comfortability of being able to be on this conference right now, but we got sisters and brothers who even before all this militarization shit started didn't know where they was going to eat, didn't know where they was going to sleep, rather didn't know where their next meal was going to come from, not because of just poor decision making skills, but because of the construct we know that's in place to keep us in a economic disadvantage permanently.
Yeah.
You feel me? But yeah, I ain't mean to get too long winded on you there, bro. But I just say that to say I know we recognize, those of us on this call recognize it's going to take an extreme action in order to change this extreme circumstance that we're in. And I
Now,
feel
what that
like it could. I feel like if it's positioned around the needs of the people, I feel like we could get our people on board to do it. Not in totality, in which no group is unanimous on anything on earth, past, present, nor future. Nor nonetheless, the core basics that our people, I feel like, would agree on. Like, I don't feel like it would be hard pressed to get many of our people, or the majority of our people at least, to agree that we need to be in a more self-governing state,
I see,
and that
Ali
we need to have more
Jamal trying
control of
to
our
come on,
economics.
but you don't have the thing on there to bring them on on here. Anybody know who that is? Ali Jamal. Trying to
I
bring you
don't
on,
up to
but
something, brother.
can't seem to bring you on there. But welcome to listen in. Talking about well, for one, the ice cream trucks, they're going through neighborhoods late at night, and the same neighborhoods we got hundreds of, well, I don't know how many, but a lot of children are missing in Virginia, and they have these spooky ice cream trucks going through Virginia at night. You know, at hours where you ain't supposed to see no ice cream trucks, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And of course, Trump's takeover. Of course, crime going to be down because you got feds all over the place. So of course it's going to be down. You know, ain't nobody going to even jaywalk with all that going on. A lot of people just staying in the house. Yeah. Hope they have some kind of plan for after the 30 days. Or you know anything about that, Joe, brother? Because after the 30 days is when they're gonna need it, you know? Yeah. It's like they're stirring things up just to leave, you know? At least they're leaving behind a uh capital punishment bill of some sort. Yes, Trump will be trying to put that in effect.
I ain't got much comment on it. My views don't align with the people views. So,
Oh, put it
me.
on, put it on, put it on. I saw you on there. You said 11 days of no violence, no violent crimes. 11 days.
Hey, get the National Guard out there and let it return to status quo where one person was murdered every 36 hours prior to this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be like a 30-day thing, ain't it? Where they after 30 days they go back home anyway.
So ain't nothing really to complain about then, right?
Well, I don't think it's nothing to complain about anyway, because they're stopping people from killing folks, so that's a good thing.
Oh, forget no. They're encroaching on people's individual rights doing that. If people want them out of there, they should get out of there. But to knowing that they're going to be out of there in 30 days, just wait them out. They'll be
I
out of
think
there.
they,
Everybody can return to normal.
I don't think they care about the National Guard being out there. I think they care about all those various police agencies being out there all at one time. It's almost like making it into a police state, a totalitarian state where you can't even walk down the street because you know somebody watching. I think that's the problem.
The
People are
the unblinking eye has been constantly watching the entirety of America since about 2006. Great Britain implemented it first. The UK implemented it first in the late 90s, where they had an unblinking eye camera system throughout their entire nation. Now we have it. So
they need to use it, not just have it, utilize it.
they
You
do
know,
utilize it.
whereas if they see somebody about to commit a crime, they can
If you are important enough, like a CEO of a healthcare company, they utilize it extremely well.
shit. They didn't utilize it when Luigi got
How
the
didn't they? They caught him.
no,
They
I'm
caught
talking
him with a
about
ski
Blade. I'm
mask on
talking
and a ghost gun. He had a ghost gun and a ski mask on, escaped on an e-bike and went ghost, and they caught him. So how didn't that work?
oh no, I'm just saying they should have got him beforehand. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I
they
agree.
didn't have
I agree.
preventive measures. Oh, as a
Mhm.
matter of fact, I don't know how true this is or whatever, but I heard they got you got a thing coming out where they can you can serve your time in your mind in like an hour or a day, you know, where they hypnotize you, whatever, and take your memories and mess your head up.
If they could do that, that's theoretical, and that'll lead to transhumanism. But that's probably what Musk's working on with that Neuralink.
Yeah, they talking about it though. They say that a person be done serve the sentence in their mind.
Nah, Trump gonna end up filling up these jails with Negroes and illegal immigrants, and that's what's gonna happen with the labor for with the cheap labor force. You know,
Yeah,
they're gonna be the ones like they was doing down south, had them boys doing fields and stuff. So best thing you
slave
can do is tell
labor.
your youth to stay out the way.
That's slave labor for sure. Hmm.
Okay, like I get what you're saying and feeling some kind of way about that being slave labor. When somebody kick you in the door and shoot your family up, you know what I'm talking about, and rape your old lady,
Yeah.
what they supposed to get 30 days and released.
No, they're supposed to be executed at dawn.
But
Yeah.
but 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 folk feel some kind of way about him proposing executing illegal immigrants who come here and murder. Make it make sense.
No, I ain't got a problem with it. But he said if they were to kill American citizen or law enforcement.
Are you not aware of how many black folk, and in particular in Georgia, a couple of black women who were slaughtered by illegal immigrants? Are you aware of that?
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about that.
Cause I noticed a lot of research and news that be being done be like one sided and biased. You know, look at opposing views and stuff
Oh
like
no,
that.
well you
So
gotta look at it all. But you say down in Georgia though,
yeah, illegal immigrant. It was a sister, illegal immigrant, followed her in the park or something like that, raped her and almost decapitated her. But that ain't the only sister that happened to. You know, when the illegals first hit her right before the election, you know, they was making they had a lot of black folk that was being bought out of businesses, as well as the YNs in Chicago was getting shot at by them and was having shootouts with them. So, you know, But it's a tragedy though when the state come in and do something that no one else has done. And like I said in the comments, a lot of the issues that black folks have about their people being in the line of fire, all you got to do is start at home and start back policing your household again. Stop being
Yeah,
scared of your children.
yeah. And get their kids
But
off the street at 2 o'clock in the morning when the ice
no,
cream truck
no, no.
snatching folks
Just
up.
like the whole the time that was just wasted on the ice cream truck at 2 in the morning. First off, the DMV area is a middle ground and duty to retreat area. So where I'm at back in the late '90s, early 2000s, after 9 o'clock, the ice cream truck became a target. Like
Yeah,
literally, not the occupants, but the engine compartment and the tires became targets.
right.
So in those areas where in the DMV where you have a duty to retreat and middle ground law where if you didn't appear to retreat, you can be charged with a homicide if you defend yourself. Man, yeah, you setting yourself up for failure. And it's a distraction. 2 a.m. What the hell? What is your child doing out at 2 a.m.? Make it make sense? None of it makes sense. But I land, man. This is why I don't talk, bro. But
I,
I'm done,
I
man.
think it might be government. I think it might
Go
be
ahead.
government doing that shit. Now, because I didn't think of that at first.
Hey,
Man,
listen, brother. Hey, listen, brother. As hard as our neighborhoods are policed, outside of this rare instance where they going to specifically police predominantly white neighborhoods over ours, anytime it's any suspicious activity going on, I know because I be in the hood. Well, here in the places that I've been in, and for the sisters and brothers that I'm connected to who can attest to to their areas, we be policed like a motherfucker. So if it's any type of unusual activity, including a ice cream truck after 10 p.m. up until 4 a.m. in the morning in operation, like this what I this that's pretty much what I be
Yeah,
hitting at
they
as far as our
that's
people.
suspicious. And times like that is
once again,
Bro,
once
bro,
again, the
I'm
DMV
just
area, the DMV area is a middle ground and duty to retreat area. I'm in the Midwest where my gun, I can own a tank if I got the land to put it on. So it's a little different here. Okay, that's
okay.
all I'm saying. A lot of folk that's in these areas and are being that are coming to the net and different organizations and complaining about that, like California and the East Coast. Y'all in places where you all have to retreat. You need to get out of these places.
yeah,
That's all it is.
Yeah,
yeah,
but hold on though, bro. All of our people are not in an economic position, support system based position to be able, or medical position even sometimes, to be able to pack up and simply relocate in that manner.
But
You know what I'm saying?
check dig. The cost of living in the DMV area and the cost of living on the West Coast and in Seattle, Washington areas is way higher than these free states where you have right to defend yourself and castle doctrine and stand your ground.
I'm aware of that, brother, but that's for us that's in a capacity to do such and who are knowledgeable about these things to potentially take advantage of, in which this is not absolute nor no guarantee.
but we have to give the
Yeah,
You
rest
got
of them
you got
that
to
too.
stop voting
you can
down ballot.
you
We have to
I'm
put up
talking
with
about
them.
taking our people out of this construct, bro. There is no win. I was kind of getting to that earlier. There is no win within the structure, bro. Now we can assimilate and choose to abide by and hope and pray that they will keep to their constitution or keep to any other form of legislation that they seem to pass that we hope works to our advantage as a people. But generally
Mm-mm.
speaking, we speak from our personal circumstance and our bubble. I'm looking at it
Assimilate
from the
is
con.
falling on your sword.
Well,
Never
assimilation
fall on your
is,
sword.
well, what I'm saying is assimilation is to be absorbed by the body or to
Uh, uh,
become similar. Hold on, brother. Or to become similar to. Now, if we are choosing to just throw away the concept of self governance and being in control of our political, economic, social environment, if we're throwing that away, then we are assimilating, because this identity of Americanism, this construct, this government, the economics, the politics, even the social parameters are not controlled and dictated by us. So if we choose to relinquish that power and simply stay within this one, then we are assimilating.
It's been taken now. It's a dictatorship. For
We
real.
are assimilating. You know what I'm saying? Now
There's similar.
I get it from the concept of, okay, theoretically, constitutional law says this, so this is how it's supposed to go. Historically, we know that it does not work that way for us. Yes, we have instances in which sisters and brothers do successfully utilize the law, but for just as many that we can outline that have, it's been another sister or brother who has been undermined, regardless of whatever the legislation is, based on what they choose to recognize, based on what they choose to acknowledge. That's them. That's their power. I'm discussing in positioning the concept of us taking control of our own instead of relinquishing it.
Yeah,
But
If
that's
that makes
what we
sense to you,
need.
brother.
That's what
now
we need.
I get that. I get that, right? But control of our own starts in the home. And if you look at the current situation and the culture and the community, there's no control in the home.
I agree.
We gotta take back
Oh,
control of the family first. Family.
I would say this too. That is true, but we do have many different aspects of our people, right? We got plenty of dynamics where you got sisters and brothers who, even though they may not be together, are still present in their children's lives. You remember the whole study that they went through? I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but it's been discussed and brought up in several spaces and dialogues regarding our people, where they talk about how the brothers are, based on percentage, more likely to be engaged in the early development of their child's lives, or to be engaged in certain activities that the children may be involved in directly. You know what I'm saying? So we get that it's a problem that we have going on, and that has to be addressed, but that's something that we have to address as a group. Now, I can operate and do what I do in my household and take care of my own. That's good. But for a sister or brother who does not have the same conscientiousness, the same awareness, the same knowledge, in which we know the mass majority of our people do not think how we think, no matter how different our views are, that as far as this advanced in thought, because they're so focused on today. When you keep a people economically disadvantaged and positioned the way that they are, they focus on survival. So they don't have time to think about the next week or next year. They're thinking about what I'm gonna do today or what I can get today and what I could potentially have for tomorrow. So as long as we in that position as a group, not individually, as long as we as a collective in that position, you can't expect our people to go through a mental or psychological or even spiritual healing. They too busy trying to figure out where their next meal gonna come from, or where they gonna sleep tomorrow, where they gonna sleep tonight.
Right. So in come the feds to clean it up.
Brother, they ain't cleaning up by addressing a symptom and not the actual cause. The cause is economics, brother. Is to address the
I
mental, is to
understand.
address the mental and the psychological state that our people have developed into, and to take away the things that they are capitalizing off of that position us for that. They doing
I,
that.
I,
We don't we don't
what
own we
age
don't
group are you
own.
in?
I'm 37, brother. Never
I'm
mind.
42.
There you go. We close in proximity. There you go.
But check it out though. I came up during the 90s gun ban when the man with the SKS was the warlord over the community. I'll never go through that again. And you're facing that again. See,
No doubt.
when this situation was happening in the 90s, what happened was the black church and black liberals came together and they were tired of their children getting murdered, breaking into people, well, getting deleted, breaking into people's houses and breaking into people's cars and robbing people because of the crack epidemic. Okay. So right now we had a whole fentanyl and everything else epidemic, and they're doing the same things. What what's happening is this is coming back to another gun ban situation. And when the gun ban happened in the 90s, there were only one group of people that were affected by that gun ban. Only one across the nation. Didn't matter what state you were in. So if they get the begging again for the state to stop coming down heavy-handed, as well as they have no control over their households, we're looking at another form of repression that the government gonna come up with in the form of a gun ban and the Joe Biden 90s crime bill.
No doubt. Well, hold on. Let me before we get too far off point, I do want to say something to that. All right, brother. I've been in many hoods in the US. I'm not so traveled abroad in this body, but I've been in many hoods in the United States, brother. I have never seen a gun manufacturing plant.
Yeah, that's
hold on, brother. Let me finish, brother. I've never seen a gun manufacturing plant, right? I've never
I can
seen
explain that.
a plant. I've never seen a plant that took a coca leaf and turned that into cocaine. I've never seen a field or heard of a brother kingpin brother that had it like that he was growing it out the ground and then mass producing it. Like I say that to say that even especially in the 90s, before we even had the access to things like 3D printers, etc., to be able to even come up with extra shit. Even in the 90s, brother, we ain't never had access to be able to bring this stuff into the hood, bro. It
But
ain't
what
that
I'm
many, it ain't listen to me, bro. It ain't that many pawn shop gun thefts. It ain't that many pawn shop gun thefts that's
it doesn't
somehow
have to.
hold on, brother.
This is my
That
trade.
somehow I got you, brother. I'm gonna let you do your thing, but just let me say this point. This one, I forget my thought. Ain't been no Smith and Wesson, Taurus, or any other gun manufacturing mass theft to account for all the guns over the years that have somehow magically ended up in the hood, bro.
It doesn't have
All of
to be.
these
I'm trying to
guns.
explain that.
Okay,
That's
brother. But
easily
let me.
explained.
Okay, well, I was gonna say this last little part, and I'll let you have it. These guns, before they get touched by anybody else, have a serial number.
They
These
don't.
guns. Okay,
They
brother. Go ahead and
don't.
do your thing. Yeah, brother.
Check it out, man. I'm a gunsmith and armorer by trade. I've been doing that for about 12 years. You hear me? You got to understand,
Okay.
you'll never see a manufacturing plant unless you go to Lake City where they press out stuff for the military. Every man, every man, woman, and child with some wire pliers, a drill, and not even a wire pliers, some drill, and simple mechanical skills is a gun manufacturer. They look, it's a whole process to where you can get unfinished gun parts and anyone can become a gun manufacturer. You can push guns out of your house from a 70% lower of a gun, man, and at a rate of about 2 per hour.
And I'm with
With
that 100. I'm with that 100%, brother. But how many, realistically, what brother has had access to be able to go purchase that to that degree without some white motherfucker or some company, man, some company involvement or something to that degree, bro? Just
my
just
my
being
my
real,
my
bro,
point
to
about
account
that,
for what we got.
my point about that was you saying that you had never seen a gun manufacturing plant, and I'm going with the cocaine on that. The whole contra situation with the cocaine and that stuff being put in the communities led black folk to hollering at white folk who had gun manufacturing plants in their mama's basement, which put guns in the community. It's cause and effect, man.
And
I'm not saying that's not an impossibility, brother, but even if that is the case where that accounts somehow for all the guns over the years that have
Yes,
somehow but
yes, there are
even
over
if that did,
450 million guns in America, 330
okay,
million Americans.
okay, and I got you on that. All right, now that's cool. Even if that's the case, again, that's not us implanting it into the hood. We're not the ones manufacturing it. That's still another motherfucker, whether he
Hey, please,
privately or corporately or governmentally doing this.
please no cussing, brother.
Oh yeah, my
I,
fault, brother. Yeah, I
I
got you.
understand exactly what you're saying, but that doesn't change the fact that they're being put into the hood, and to not take advantage of today's modern technology and have a mild skill set under your belt on how to protect yourself. Well, complain to the government.
I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. And I'm not talking about complaining. This is a discussion for our people to take and to organize. You know, I'm
That's not.
we're organizing and we're doing what we do. Woo, 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 but you just said 42 million, which we know that number is likely skewed. None.
450 million guns for 330 million people.
Okay.
Armament.
Yeah, I mean, either way, bro, it's not us that's manufacturing them Jones and bringing them in here. The either
And
way, none of that matters. I'm not even here to point blame or nothing. The point I'm saying is, instead of us trying to continually utilize certain methodologies that haven't yielded the radical change and we know doesn't necessarily have the potential within the foreseeable future to yield the radical change we need, then that means we need to consider alternative options. And if that means separating, then that's something that we internally need to discuss and figure out if that's the best option for ourselves without necessarily allowing fear to govern our decision making.
Hey, let's see what the White House had to say real quick. I had her tuned up too. She's just gonna give an update from their perspective. You know how they gonna do that.
Unleashing American energy dominance. President Trump ended Joe Biden's Green New Scam policies and is delivering on his promise to make America affordable again. These savings at the pump are giving everyday American families more room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy and our national identity, which is why he's championed an agenda that puts them first always. For decades, the hardworking men and women of our country who built the greatest nation in world history were sold out by selfish, greedy, short-sighted globalists who put our country on a path to economic and cultural ruin. They hollowed out our factories and towns and betrayed the American working class by shipping jobs overseas and importing millions of low-wage migrants to replace American workers. Under President Trump, this national disgrace is over. American workers are, once again, being put at the center of national trade policy, and the dignity of American labor is being defended. As a result, President Trump has already brought in nearly $10 trillion in new private and foreign investments so that the top businesses in the world can create high-paying jobs in America and hire American workers to fill them. In fact, since President Trump took office, the economy has added more than 500,000 new jobs to the workforce. In a stark reversal from the Biden administration, all of that job creation has been driven by private sector growth, and all employment gains have gone to native-born Americans. Wages for blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in the past 60 years. And the average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year alone. Thanks to the largest middle tax cuts ever signed into law by President Trump, with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, Americans in all 50 states will keep more of their hard-earned money. The average American taxpayer will see a tax cut of nearly $4,000 because of these pro-growth provisions, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation. In other news, President Trump continues to deliver on his promise to restore law and order to our nation's capital. Since President Trump's intervention, there have been more than 1,283 arrests
That's
right
what I'm
here in
talking
the
about.
District of Columbia.
1,000.
Total crime in DC is down 19%, and violent crime is down 30%. Carjackings in the district are down 67%. Homicides are down 57%. Robberies are down 40%. Motor vehicle thefts are down 32%. And assaults with dangerous weapons are down 23%. And property crime is down 18%. These numbers prove the president's bold actions to make DC safe and beautiful again are working, just like he said they would. And that's why on Monday, the president took additional action to sign an executive order taking steps to ensure that cashless bail in Washington, D.C. is eliminated. For too long, DC's reckless cashless bail policies have allowed dangerous criminals to be quickly released, which endangers everyone who lives in and visits our wonderful capital. No cash bail has also foolishly forced law enforcement to repeatedly arrest the same offenders over and over again, only for them to be released back into our nation's capital. This is the definition of insanity, and the president is seeking to end it. He also signed a separate executive order addressing the crime emergency in DC by instructing the National Park Service to hire additional United States Park Police officers to support public safety, and directing the U.S. Attorney's Office for DC to hire additional prosecutors to focus solely on violent and property crimes. So while liberal Democrats across the country continue to double down on their failed soft on crime approach, the American people, including local DC leadership, business owners, and residents, are rallying behind President Trump's crime crackdown. According to new polling, 81% of Americans say crime is a major problem in large cities across the country. And a clear majority of Americans believe the president's actions are justified and necessary to reduce crime in these cities. Indu Bhatia, who runs a liquor store a half mile from the White House here just down the street, is one of those Americans who are grateful for President Trump's public safety push. Indu recently told the New York Post that her store was robbed so many times that they had to spend exorbitant sums of money on security, jeopardizing her family's financial future. But thanks to President Trump's strong action, Indu said, quote, "All of my employees, including me, we feel much safer, and even our customers feel really happy when they walk into our store." And just yesterday, Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser credited President Trump for surging federal law enforcement personnel and said neighborhoods, quote, "feel and are much safer." We thank Mayor Bowser for her cooperation and her willingness to help us make DC safe and beautiful. This entire effort has vindicated what President Trump and law and order advocates have been saying for years. And this is our message to Americans in Democrat-run cities nationwide. Decline is a choice. You don't have to live in constant fear of being robbed, raped, or murdered. Your leaders are lying to you, and they have been failing you for decades. The President Trump approach of upholding law and order by letting our brave men and women in blue actually do their jobs to aggressively fight crime works. In just a few weeks, President Trump has done more for DC residents than Democrats did in 50 years. And this can be replicated in other crime-ridden cities across the nation. As President Trump has said, all of these elected officials in charge have to do is pick up the phone and ask for the president and the federal government's help. President Trump doesn't care if they are a Republican or a Democrat leader. He wants Americans to be safe and for every law-abiding American citizen across the country to be able to thrive in their city and in their community. With that, I'll take questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have social media influencer, content creator, Brandon Tatum. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And on behalf of everybody that follow me, the millions of people that follow me, I want to say thank you for making a sacrifice and dealing with some of the most disingenuous people on planet Earth at times. I have two questions. The first question is associated with the shooting that occurred the other day. And I want to ask the question of, we know that it's not a gun thing. Any rational person knows it's not a gun thing. We know it's a mental health issue. So I want to know from you, what is President Trump?
That's one of the things I wanted to bring up too. I want to bring this subject up on the next broadcast.
You know, anybody with, and I say, with a connected brainstem knows that Chicago's crime is out of control. And young black men are getting killed, laying dead in the middle of the streets every single day in Chicago. No president has addressed any of these issues. And so what is the White House going to do to address issues in their capacity to deal with the conflict and violence in Chicago?
Sure. Well, to your first question about this shooting in Minnesota, right now,
the administration is focused on helping the people of Minnesota. It's been less than a day, of course, since this tragedy happened. We have federal law enforcement on the ground assisting local law enforcement. This investigation is ongoing. There's still a lot of facts to understand about these circumstances. And so we're going to continue to do that. As for Chicago and cracking down on crime, it is a priority of this administration to ensure that American cities are safe again. And I'm so glad that you brought up the crime in Chicago, because we've been seeing the governor of Illinois parading out there saying that there's nothing wrong with Chicago. It's a great place to live. There's no crime there. He doesn't need President Trump's help. Well, I think the residents of Chicago beg to differ, and the statistics beg to differ. And I'll just share a few of those statistics with all of you. For 13 consecutive years, Chicago has had the most murders of any U.S. city. This is J.B. Pritzker's legacy, by the way. For 7 consecutive years, Chicago has had the highest murder rate among U.S. cities with more than 1 million people. In 2024, just last year, Chicago's murder rate per capita was 3 times higher than Los Angeles and nearly 5 times higher than New York City. That's more than double the murder rate in Islamabad and nearly 15 times more than Delhi. Out of Chicago's 147,899 reported crimes this year, that's how many crimes have been reported in Chicago since January 1st. There have only been arrests in 16% of them. These numbers are unacceptable. There have been more illegal guns recovered in Chicago than in New York City and Los Angeles combined. The number of reported motor vehicle thefts last year was more than double the number in 2021. And Chicago has also, just like DC, come under scrutiny over discrepancies in its homicide data reporting. So as bad as these numbers are, perhaps they are even worse. And this is Governor Pritzker's legacy. He should put politics aside. He should pick up the phone and call this president, who would be more than happy to do right by law-abiding American residents in the city of Chicago, and we hope that he will. Gabe, and thanks for being here, Brandon. Gabe.
Yeah, thank you so much. First on the firing of the CDC director, first,
Sure.
we'll replace her. And then also, overnight, the White House said that she did not align with.
Y'all know what that means? That means Chicago's next.
She refused to rubber stamp unscientific directives and fired dedicated health experts. What specifically did she do?
Look, what I will say about this individual is that her lawyer's statement made it abundantly clear themselves that she was not aligned with the president's mission to make America healthy again. And the secretary asked her to resign. She said she would, and then she said she wouldn't. So the president fired her, which he has every right to do. It was President Trump who was overwhelmingly reelected on November 5th. This woman has never received a vote in her life, and the president has the authority to fire those who are not aligned with his mission. A new replacement will be announced by either the president or the secretary very
I'm
soon.
telling you,
And the
man.
president and Secretary Kennedy are committed to restoring trust and transparency and credibility to the CDC by ensuring their leadership and their decisions are more public-facing, more accountable, strengthening our public health system, and restoring it to its core mission of protecting Americans from communicable diseases, investing in innovation to prevent, detect, and respond to future threats. That's the mission of the CDC, and we're going to make sure that folks that are in positions of leadership there are aligned with that mission.
Briefly on another topic, last week, a judge.
Let's say, I'll read some of the comments here. Like the 6th cross-dressing mass shooter 2, at least they predominantly target whites. It's the straight, sexless white male that's the threat to Negro men, women, and children. LGBT at war with the conservative white, and LGBT sending feminist black women and homosexual black men to push feminist and homo doctrine at the children and straight adults. Oh yeah, that's true. They're trying to push it at the children in the school levels. Terrible, terrible. Yeah.
On the environmental concerns lawsuit said that the administration had 60 days to wind down operations after state officials did. The administration is not been shy in fighting back against what it calls activist judges, but why is it backing down this time?
We're not backing down. We've always said that we are going to continue to fight in the court of law for what's right, because we know that
Well, crime is down with it being a police state. It would have to be. Oh, shoot. Any closing statements, brothers?
Yeah, Big Four is real swift, bro. Uh, I mean, I feel like it's a lot of reactionary stuff that they have going on, coupled with agendas. How far long term, you know, we really
Kelly,
can't
you see
say. But this is more of a normalization of authoritarian or authoritarianism. They he basically normalizing the capacity to be able to override and to step and do essentially whatever.
Yeah.
And if this person has the quote unquote consensus white majority support, that could be anybody now or later.
Yeah, true that.
Now, like I said, us as a people, I know it's a lot going on around us, but closing ranks and focusing on what we need to do proactively, couple what we need to do reactively to what's happening, would be in our best interest.
Yeah, we got to think it out better than
Cause
reaction.
like, but I'm talking about like concrete plans and agendas though, cause
Yeah.
we really be putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into other things, and then when sisters and brothers be positioned and shit like this, we step right over it. But then we get into circles, and we want to have conversations and build about things, but that's the results is going to be the tell of the tape.
Yeah. Definitely need to have some town hall meetings, more of those. And let's move right along. Only a few minutes left. What about you, Brother Joe?
You know, my motto: stay strapped and get OINs, local laws, and local penalties for breaking those laws. And that's about it. I land.
Yeah, yeah. And I say with all these police state going on everywhere, might as well just clean up the act. You know, take care of their kids, get their kids ready for school, and those that are in school, they need to get their grades up and get in school and get in a profession where they ain't got to worry about ducking police. You know, you ain't got to worry about ducking police if you ain't doing the wrong thing. And remember, they are giving out the death penalty just in case capital punishment doesn't sink in. Put it like that. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and a life for a life. So that's what they're giving out in DC. If you kill somebody in DC, you will be getting the death penalty. You know? So let's be careful. Watch our kids out there, because at 2 o'clock in the morning, they should be out there on the street. No way. You know? So shouldn't be out there for an ice cream truck to be picking up. And if you see an ice cream truck out there that time of night, we should be squatted up. At least two or three, and pull up on them and find out what's up. Or at least let them know they're in the wrong neighborhood to be thinking they're going to just ride around without being unchecked. Yeah, they go get checked that they're around here for sure. Yeah. So that's my closing. Oh, yeah, perfect time, man. Yeah. So thanks, I appreciate you coming on. I don't know where Shabaka's at. He's missing in action. We're gonna have to find him. I know he's been doing the late show with brother Jesse. So they'll be on the wee hours of the morning. If y'all happen to turn your TV on, you'll probably see what they call it, the black. Not well. I know Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced, but what's Jesse's frontline black news? Yep. All right, well, y'all have a good one. I appreciate it. And let me play this one more time before we get out of here. Yeah, just a reminder. Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah.
Influence operations in
All right.
Greenland with the intention of weakening relations between Denmark and Greenland. The report said it was not able to clarify if the Americans were working on their own or under orders from somebody else.
Kill somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And it's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but we have it. It is, we have no choice.
Oh, it didn't happen in one night. These arrests, all 12 of them, and the seizure of all these weapons indicate the seriousness of crime that is occurring in our community.
Now, over 2,300 National Guardsmen and federal agents have been scouring the city for most of the month, despite Congress being on recess. Trump says Republican House and Senate leaders are working on a new legislation to fight crime. Posting last night, Speaker Mike Johnson and Leader John Thune are working with me and other Republicans on a comprehensive crime bill. It's what our country needs, and now more to follow. Make America great again. Now, Congress, like many schools, guys, are back in session after Labor Day.
Somebody murders something in the Capitol. Capital punishment. Capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And it's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it in this country, but we have it. It is, we have no choice.
What Trump saying got no choice.
Occupied America. They call it occupied. We're being occupied by a criminal force. And we're an occupied state that refuses to let our great law enforcement professionals do the job that they so dearly want to do. You know, they want to do the job so badly, but they're threatened constantly. You're going to lose your pension. They don't want to do it. What is this ideology? It's so sick. But to everyone here in Colorado and all across our nation, I make this pledge and vow to you. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. It will be Liberation Day. I will rescue Aurora and every town that has been invaded and conquered. These towns have been conquered. Explain that to your governor. He doesn't have a clue.
Trump's description of
Invasion of illegals into our country. We will defend our territory. We will not be conquered. We will not be conquered. We will reclaim our sovereignty, and Colorado will vote for Trump as a protest and signal to the world that we are not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. And if they come back into our country, they will be told it is an automatic 10-year sentence in jail with no possibility of parole.
the most striking part of Trump's Aurora speech was his call for the death penalty in cases involving undocumented immigrants who commit violent crimes, specifically murder. Take a listen.
And I'm hereby calling for the death penalty for any migrant that kills an American citizen or a law enforcement officer.
watch TV.